What's up, beautiful people of the world? We got Quadroon here on the mic for another hashtag SUSOST interview. Yes, it's time to stand out, and stand together. We have the beautiful, lovely Muneerah on the other side of the phone. How are you doing here today, Muneerah?
I am wonderful. I'm very
So, so glad to hear. Muneerah is an individual, a singer, a producer, a writer, a woman of many talents, myths, and legends. We coalesced back in, I want to say it was 2016, actually, at UCSC in one of first musical classes, which I had taken, and we've gone on to do a variety of different work in the live sphere, in the recorded sphere, as well as in the communal sphere, just as different participators within this whole kind of art scene that we touch base within. And Muneerah obviously contributes to this grand and new lovely album. She contributes incredible vocals as well as some keys upon a track known as Yusuf to be seen and released. But today, we're taking a little time to just kind of offer the space to you, Muneerah. And I with so many others, wanted to include this interview and this segment and this portion to allow your artistry and yourself to speak beyond just your contribution to the project and give you a little platform and space to do so. And so, as kind of a little intro and segue into that, let me propose to you just that general question. I mean, to the audience and to the self, what is it that you do, Muneerah, and how do you describe that in terms of your musical artistic endeavors?
well. First of all, thank you for that gorgeous intro. You have a way with words, as always. Um, I do a lot.
Yes, you do.
Currently, I'm working at a local radio station here in Santa Cruz as part of me getting experience as a recording artist, um, recording arts student of music, and um, yeah. So I'm life is really very complex right now because
Hmm.
I'm going to school. I'm working in this very alive environment where
Hmm.
I'm,
Hmm.
doing all sorts of things, including like production for the radio station, covering engineering shifts and um, setting up overnight audio, just to set and forget to kind of give everyone at the station a peace of mind, um,
Absolutely.
including myself, because when things go wrong in the middle of the night, you do not want to wake up and deal with it. So
Yeah, yeah, entirely.
yeah, so that's a huge part of my life right now. And then as far as being a student of music and recording arts, I I wanted to get the ground running so hard and just like be doing shows and be making albums. And then I realized back in, I think, 2019 that there was so much I had left to learn. And I really wasn't in a place where I felt like I could go out there and do that. So
Hmm.
now I feel like I'm finally kind of getting a bit of momentum with two two projects really. Yeah, a lot of it was learning theory and taking voice lessons and learning a bit of piano and jazz improv and getting into all the really nerdy stuff
Hmm.
that you
Hmm.
can get into in the academic world of music, um, and music technology. um, yeah, and now I'm really working on finishing out that degree and working on like an independent study project, which is basically two songs that
Oh,
are written and produced by myself and will be mixed by myself, possibly mastered by
yeah.
myself.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so God willing, I'll be able to finish that by December.
There we go. In a little accordance too with a potential album drop release time, that would That would be wonderful. Wonderful
Yeah.
indeed. You can definitely do it. Let's start a little bit before and get to now, you know. And so without going obviously too deep and we kind of contract our stories, I'm curious to just ask and offer that, like, what was your initial moment of like contacting art or music consciously? And then how did that moment transform into, yo, I need to do this, slash, I'm doing this? And then how does that build into the private sphere, to the public sphere, to maybe the identity of that, to the making of the Instagram or the posters or making the CDs, whatever? How did that grow for you as initially what starts is just, oh, whoa, what's this? You know, and I'm curious to hear those specific moments for yourself.
Oh God. I feel like I had a very like childlike love and appreciation for music
Mm,
as a whole,
yeah.
you know, as a as a kid. I feel like me and my family have always like been music lovers. And then I want to say definitely in elementary school,
Uh-huh.
like
Uh-huh.
I was just like super I was super shy, super introverted, some of which I still am. I still am that person, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Um, I could kind of just like retreat into music, you know, and a lot of people say that who love music and who end up being musicians.
Totally.
Like it's definitely a space where you can just like be in the world of that song. Songs are really their own separate world.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
yeah. But so, you know, it started as like we're singing along to like our favorite Selena album. We're singing
Yeah.
along to like George Benson and Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson, The Temptations,
Oh, yes.
Celine Dion,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
freaking Ricky Martin. Like, yeah, lots of like so many different kinds of music. Like my mom brought the fella because she's from Nigeria, you know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Kuti is like the father of he's the yeah, he's really the father. People say Godfather, but he's like the father of Afrobeat music.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So that led to some big love and appreciation for music and singers and all kinds of musicians. I started out playing violin. Did you know
No
that?
way. No, I didn't know. This is why I had to ask. Violin. Holy cow.
Yeah,
Have it?
I started out playing violin in like a youth orchestra.
Wow.
DC, Washington, DC has a youth orchestra program. I don't know if it's still around, but both me and my sister were in that. She played viola, I played violin, and we learned so much there. Personally, I learned that I didn't have a lot of discipline as a child, which is pretty normal. Um, yeah, I liked singing more. I liked singing as a kid, and I think I started in like fourth grade or something.
Okay. Did they have a choir or something? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
my teacher, shout out to Bashia Jones now. I think
That's a
I can't remember
Bashida.
her married name, but I remember Bashia being
Yeah.
her first name. She's a lovely person. Yeah, she started a choir at my school. Um, and it was just so alive. It was so great. I don't have like a whole lot of memories from when I was a kid.
For sure.
Um, but like that's like a very vivid um I have a lot of vivid memories of like experiencing performing with her just for like the school. We also did like some dance in there.
Mm, mhm,
Um,
mhm.
yeah. So it was really like on and off when I was a kid. Like my involvement in things as a kid was so scattered because we just like did so much and like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
focus was really on being a good student.
correct.
There's
Those
like,
are extracurricular type. Yeah, no, absolutely.
yeah, there was just so much like, I remember there being a very big pressure to like get A's and just like be a super, super good student and like stand out. And so my main focus was that. And so um I didn't get a whole lot of allowance towards the arts.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
yeah, but I dabbled here and there, have some really good fond memories of like dancing and singing in seventh grade and like retreating to um, a piano room where I just like
Uh-huh.
hung out with the older kids.
Yes,
Um, one
yes.
of, one of whom is like actually a successful musician now, and he's always been a wonderful person. Was always so nice to me. Um,
Oh, that's badass.
yeah, so there was like some inspiration from. I got some pretty good inspiration from like hanging out with older kids, and I feel like in those like little quiet retreats, I could like really tap into that excitement that I had earlier on before I was just like all about studying and wanting to get the best grade and all that stuff.
No,
Mm.
100%. And so it's interesting. You mentioned two distinct environments that play this kind of role in this cross section. It's that a family and school. And I
Mhm.
mean, you mentioned in your current state and where we met in a college campus now, in a musical class now pursuing music as an education. Talk to me about your relationship between school, or rather maybe not only the institution of that, but just education, the whole educational process with the musical process. Have these always gone hand in hand to you? Has it been this space in where equipment was available and thus the initial, opportunity to even begin to play or touch or, have a group of other people or talented, you got your teachers, of course, and slash or then how did also the private sphere of yes, you're at home, you're getting influenced by these different songs, you're singing with the sisters, you're making up dances, and then you leave, you go to school, you go to the other side of the fucking, pardon my French, roast country, and there's a complete, not maybe change, from your side, but in terms of that environment, the connecting thread at that point being school. And so how have you seen that has influenced your journey up to now, obviously, as to where once again you come to a realization, yo, I need to learn more and I want to do that learning in the place of an educational environment.
Oof. Yeah,
Woo!
you hit it right on the head, honestly. Like having access to equipment is so important. Having access to instruments is so important.
It's so
Like,
inspirational.
huh?
Oh, so inspirational. Not to cut you off. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, yeah, it's so inspirational. Like I didn't touch a guitar. Like now I have like guitars right behind me, but I didn't touch a guitar until I don't even know. I don't know what age I was, but it was pretty late in life. I wanted, I honestly wanted to play guitar at a certain point, but I just was like not in that. I wasn't, separated from home. I don't know. I think at some point there was just like a reset that was so important. Like
Yeah.
moving across the country and like being in a place where my only job is to figure out what I need to do with my life. Like I'm not living with my parents. I don't have the influence of like anyone that I have known before.
Correct.
So I could just naturally gravitate towards what was a comfort for me.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, oh, yeah, geez. I mean, and being in California, like I feel like every other person is like someone, usually a guy. on college campus carrying around a guitar.
Yes. No. Oh my God. Especially you see. I mean, literally, you'd find barefoot guitar players
Yeah.
frequently than you'd find studious looking classmates.
Yeah. Like suddenly I was in this place where like people hang out in fields and smoke and drink and play guitar and just like sing with their friends. And once again, like I found myself just like hanging out with the older kids. And yeah, one time, I think I think one evening I was like hanging out with someone I thought was like cute, and we were all with like a group of friends of his, folks like from other countries. I hung out a lot with international students
Mm,
at the ILC,
mm,
International Living Center.
yeah.
Um,
That's
yeah, so it was like half international students, half Americans, and there were like a few guitars. I didn't know how to play, but I was like, oh, I think someone like taught me like two chords one time in like summer, like a summer trip or whatever.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and he basically just like let me borrow his guitar. He just let me borrow his guitar for like a week and we would jam
Mm,
in
mm,
between. And eventually, like by the time I had turned 18, which was the November, like it was a few months after, like into my first semester of college.
yeah.
Um, I was like learning songs and I signed up for like the concert choir and I was just like jamming a lot and like learning so much music.
Mm,
So
mm-hmm.
by that time, I was like, I don't know, I would just like go back to my room and play. I would just like learn Corinne Bailey Rae songs and like Taylor
Yes.
Swift songs.
Yes. No, don't be ashamed. Let it out. Let it out.
And every now and then I'll like look at journals that I had from that time, and some of it will be um like the chords to like one of those songs I was learning, and they're like super simple. And then I would like kind of start to write songs, like just on my own, kind of using the chords I was learning as like fodder for
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever was happening.
No, exactly. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So there was just so much. It was just a different environment. Um,
Explosion. Now, let me ask you, Muneerah, I mean, you mentioned it. You're not the most outgoing of people. I will say you're not like a true, just like introvert. There's that side, obviously, as we met, as you reached out to me, may I say, came over and said, so,
I was
but
like, oh my God, that was so cool.
it was perfect. It was perfect, Muneerah. And to bring this all back to like you choosing to go to school on the other side of the country, like and of all places too, like Santa Cruz, like what did you like tell me about that decision? Was that totally intuitional? Was that there was a whole calculation behind that? Was that family pressures, etc.? And then I mean you kind of referenced it there, but what was the the just gravitational shift in your whole relationship to music at that point seems to be one in where you really dove in and really had the environment and the support to do so. But I'm curious just about wanting to come out there in itself. Did it have a musical undertone, or was that almost even something that wasn't totally understood, but knowing, yes, figuring out life, it's this grander thing, and then next thing you know, you're surrounded by music. Hey, I like music. Let's do that, and it happens. Or did you go there going, hey, California, biggest music scene, down in LA? Like, okay, no, totally, yeah,
I had no idea. I hadn't heard of Santa Cruz. ever
So cool.
until, you know, I was looking through like colleges with my freaking uh the advisor, what do you call it? The college advisor in high
College
school.
advisory.
In high school, like there's like a counselor to help kids with like
I knew you were talking about, yes, the college counselor was, I think, what we called him. Yeah, exactly.
college counselor. There you go. So I was looking at schools with my college counselor, and I was applying all over the place because when you're in DC, you really have to go to like a state school if you don't want to like go to a private school somewhere in
Yeah.
DC. And I was just open. It's like it was totally like intuition. It was like a mixture of intuition and also like I was looking at all these other schools, like in the Northeast and um, North Carolina and
Yeah.
Florida and Georgia. And I don't think I looked at Oregon or anything like that. But I was just like, at the time, I really wanted to study like marine bio and environmental
Okay.
studies.
Okay. Yeah. So some
And
kind of coastal focus of some sorts, though. Yeah. No, totally.
yeah, and I wasn't even thinking about like I wasn't thinking about music really.
That's
I
so.
was like, I didn't think I had the choice also to even think about music. There was kind of like a bit of pressure to like do what I already knew.
No,
I
100%.
was like, at the time, I was like in AP environmental studies and like really digging that. And I was like going on like my main volunteer thing was like the Student Conservation Association, where we did like work for like national parks. And I went away like the summer after I graduated, and the summer of my junior year as well, um, to do like trail work and help out with invasive species because they were really overtaking the landscape, and just like learning about ecology and learning about all these everything that makes the natural like our natural world and everything that we do that impacts it. So I was really like that was my focus. So I was kind
100%.
of surprised.
Say the least.
Yeah, like I was surprised when I started to like pursue music because like I don't want to sing in front of people, you know. I really, oh my gosh, I just remembered though that like I did like in my last semester of high school, I was so stressed out and so like depressed and like trying to figure out what the heck I'm gonna do. And then my I had a teacher who just kept catching me, you know, separating myself from everyone, just like going to the chapel like above our school and like the cafeteria that had a piano. And I would like fiddle and stuff and sing. And I would sing just like I would stay behind after class just to like be in a room alone and
Right.
sing.
Be able to sing. Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah. And she kept catching me and she was like, you should just try out for the choir. Like, just like stop singing alone. Just go sing with other people.
Make some friends. Yeah, exactly. Just that good old parental authority hidden in the yeah, chateau.
Yeah. I totally had friends though. I just like, I liked,
No, that's interesting. So even with your friends, like this became somewhat of a personal outlet for you early on.
yeah.
This was like kind of a thing for you and an emotional type thing, and never had built that whole technical side, but it was like, yo, I'm feeling it. Like this is what I wanna do.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. And at that same
Right.
time, a dance class became available in my school. So Dorian Lamb, who was also like my health teacher and my homeroom teacher and my
Right.
biology teacher and my
Right.
marine
Wow.
biology teacher.
Wow. Badass.
Yeah, she's so talented. I
That's
love
very
her. Um,
legendary.
Yeah, she had a dance class. Miss Nivola, the main music teacher, had um a choir, and she taught music and math also. Um, yeah, so I did both of those things my last year of college. I mean, my last year of high
Or
school.
last year of high school leading into?
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh man. Okay, so how do I phrase this? How you tell me about the the birth, and there's so much of the details, but more general here. Transition of that to now, what you're doing, Muneerah, is setting up your entire life to be able to live music in some way, obviously, and provide for yourself. Like, talk to me about the convergence and the conceptual difficulty or the process of building enough confidence in yourself to, like, as you even noted, have that even appear as a possibility. Like, hey, I can do art like for a living and like figure it out. And it's like worthy and it's service and it means something. And it's not like, relating to that coming of that very strict academic science material kind of thing. And then furthermore, to be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, let's do that. And let's like take like some very like, not easy steps to grind to get the ground going to make that possible, not as soon as possible, but sooner than later. I mean, tell me, how has that journey been for you? And how does is it something that you go into now that you're still working with, or is that kind of beyond? And now it's the focus and the drone. She's giving me those eyes, everyone. Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
Gotcha.
Like I've I feel like I've had so many phases where I'm like, okay, I can do this, which came from first doing like open mics, and then like open mics in college, and then open mics downtown here in Santa Cruz, and then people offering to like collab and like be in the studio. Like when you invited me to come to the studio, I was like, oh my God, like I can see myself like just doing this. Just like
Mm-hmm.
this is so much fun. And like my ideas are actually like, they're valued. Um
100%. Shout out to Scameron.
yeah, and then I got like bookings, and then I was working as a bassist and like a backup person for a little while, and then the pandemic happened. And I
Hey, everything's good. Back to Grand Slam. Yeah, but not even though. But I feel you.
yeah. But like, yeah, honestly, that was, I see we have a timer going
Yeah,
down.
yeah, we can do a quick like pause it
We
and
can
then we can do
totally
the
do it
topics. Yeah, no
before.
stress.
During that time though, like so the pandemic happened March 16th or something like
Yeah,
that, 2020. I decided to go back to school for music and recording arts like at the end of 2019.
literally
So my
right.
my first semester back was like totally interrupted, and I had like I was so disoriented. I was just like,
Dang.
what am I gonna do? Like I started getting like really sick again. Um, I've had like a lot of like journeys with my physical, mental, emotional health,
Yeah,
that I now know is called chronic fatigue syndrome and myalgic encephalomyelitis. I think that's the right way
five
to.
times fast. Wow.
It's a very long word. So I butchered it. It's MECFS for short.
Yeah,
Um, but like yeah, ever since like 2018, 2019, I've like kind of felt that kind of withering away at my confidence in terms of like being able to perform and like give as much energy as I want to. So my new normal is like very toned down. Like sometimes I feel like, oh, I don't know if I can be like the performer that I want to be,
Right.
but I know that I do have skills where I can at least use what I have learned to be in the background, like in radio and production and as a writer, like I know that I can at least do that. So I'm still getting there where I feel like, oh my God, I can do this.
No, totally, totally, totally. It's
Yeah.
a journey.
And
That's
do know
different.
though that the move will help. Like I think the move will help a lot.
100% shouts to Muneerah. She's coming down to the SoCal regions. Chicago Lass also shouts to your beautiful sister about to pop out a beautiful being, Z.
Z.
Now, coming to somewhat of a full circle, and I feel we're somewhat there, right? It's what I want to ask you, and what I'm curious to hear, to not go towards necessarily the future as it is nothing of a mental illusion, but to maybe welcome it into the present and play with that as an idea. Um, with this being said, and with a very fresh reflection and regurgitation of some of the things you've encountered along your musical journey, if you could have it exactly your way, how would you integrate yourself into the musical world down the road, slash eternally, or from now forward? You know, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you still don't know and that you're still like looking to find? But what are some things that you're like, okay, there's a new solidity ground, at least for this moment?
Oh, that's such a hard question to answer.
The hardest, the hardest one, no doubt.
uh, Ideally, I would have one part, one aspect of that ideal vision is having my own space where I can invite other people in. I've like for a long time, I've always wanted a venue like where I can play, where friends can play, where people I don't know can play, and just like gather and eat some good food, have some good vibes,
From
you know? So,
absolutely a space.
yeah, yeah, a public space, kind of a multi-purpose space where, we're honoring all the arts that exist. So culinary, visual, musical, theater, just like a complete art space. I had I had these curated Sunday brunch type events at a house I was living in here in Santa Cruz a while back before the pandemic. And those were just like the most, those were the best days, honestly. Like I could put together an event, curate, a bunch of artists and acts, and folks would just come all day. I remember having like a event that lasted like 10 hours.
Holy cow! Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
for real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. So yeah, you're a great host, and there's a host in your nature, but that's some part of that is being able to offer that to others.
Yeah.
So
Being like that would be super ideal to have, but I would also want to have, have the project I'm doing now done. There's a song, there's two songs, Where I Come From and Not My Name, which I'm working on right now as part of my independent study, written by me and, produced by me, will be mixed by me,
yeah,
will be mastered.
yes,
maybe with some hope, like with some help from my professor, because there's still so much to learn on that front. I feel like a space where I need to grow for sure is like working with other people.
Always,
It's such
always.
a challenge. Like even just putting together a band and like meeting regularly has been such a challenge for me this past summer. Like my goal was to like meet steadily with some friends of mine, some of whom are classmates
Yeah.
from the music department. And I just, I was so deep in my illness as well that having the capacity to do that on top of working this summer was really difficult. So I feel like I still have a long way to go in terms of my health, and that impacts everything. So like my involvement with music is um, always going to be a given, but I feel like I've really got to, build up the strength and the stamina to do everything I want to do because I want to perform. I love performing, funny enough. Because
No,
I used to be terrified of it.
it is usually that initial moment of fear, challenged by maybe a social pressure or an internal bucketness, if you will, that then immediately evolves into a certain type of ecstasis, which anybody who has been on stage, likes going on stage, still is going on stage, knows exactly, what we're talking about. No, totally, totally. And I mean, tell me too, because you're damn play, and it's part of the journey. But you're a beautiful, incredible writer, um, and I'm curious, like, is do you foresee your writing prowess being directed towards yourself and your voice in terms of manifesting, or do you see yourself like at any ever point like writing for others or writing for a band or contributing, to radio shows or writing in just other fields itself? Um, yeah.
Oh, I'm taking in your question, which is why I'm nodding, but also like, yeah, yeah. I feel like a lot of the writing I'm doing now is for me, but I have written some things where I'm like, I don't know if this is for me.
For sure. No, totally, totally.
Yeah. And then, I've written for projects with you and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, I don't necessarily have to sing this. Someone else can sing this. Um, because like you work with some other wonderful singers as well. Um, yeah, they're like top shelf for sure. Um, I did, I've had some radio, like podcast promo writing going on for my job, and I feel really like satisfied and happy with
Yeah.
that kind of work. There's so much to do. There's so much to do in terms of like societal work. I feel like podcast and like podcasts, talk shows, um, are really important for like local politics and global politics and just like changing social change. I feel like I'm pretty enthusiastic about being on like the radio and
Yeah.
for social change because people don't realize like perspectives perspectives within like the US and like globally, it's very hard to change someone's opinion. It's very hard to change someone's mind. All you can do is expose stories and share and have conversations. And the more access people have to other people's stories, I think we're going to get pretty far. as a society. Like I've been noticing a lot of people calling in to the radio station after a show, and they may not be the most progressive
Mhm.
folks, and there's nothing you can do to like force them to change their mind, but just having them be exposed to something that's a
Right.
little kind of throwing them off is it's good. It's good to be a part of that. Yeah. So I feel like I want to be involved in some way with radio and podcasting. There's a show that I got to produce with Tim Fitzmaurice, who's a radio host here in Santa Cruz. He used to be the mayor
Mm,
um, of
mm.
Santa Cruz, and he does a lot of work within the prison systems as like an arts teacher and a poet, like a poetry teacher kind of.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been wanting for sure to like pursue these interviews with inmates and but only surrounding art. Like
Mm, mm.
we aren't going to be talking about their crimes. We're not going to be talking about um, their misgivings.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
art and exposing people to like, hey, these are real people. They made mistakes, um, but they also still have like they still have a voice. They still have expression and
How
important.
many of the favorite artists that we listen to that chop the tarts end up in those places or make grave mistakes or have made mistakes that whether we didn't know or know at one point? I mean, yeah, I think that's really, really powerful, a really cool idea. And yeah, to know, that's a great, that's kind of where I wanted to go. It's like, we're talking on the art in the personal sense, but art in the grand sense, of like what aspect of the industry or what element of its way of changing the world in no other comparable means do you want to participate in? Absolutely. The side on the local and on the immediate, but as well as the global, like the local global distinction is totally dissolved. And I think the institution of the radio, even in our modern age, provides such a potent antidote for doing so because it hits certain listeners where they're really listening and where they really trust. And there's so many radio stations. Everybody is tuned into at least one of them at some point, typically. And so, that's beautiful work. And shouts to all those beautiful people at the spot that you're collaborating with and through. I'm curious now at this point, Muneerah, do you have people, or you've mentioned your two songs incoming, you've mentioned some names, you've mentioned some locations. Is there anybody or thing that you care to acknowledge in this moment? Give a little shout out, if you will, to coming to past members, etc. I'd just love to offer that and open that up for you.
Oof.
Where to begin?
Yeah, like I feel like there's so many. I think, okay. Rachel Kirkwood, first of all.
Yes,
Ezra Tessholm.
yes.
Um, both wonderful artists in different mediums.
Mhm.
Um, Nick Hakim, good person of interest and inspiration and just like artistry and um, kindness and openness, willingness to work with others. Um, oof, you, Cameron Johnson.
Thank you, Muneerah. Thank you, thank you. Uh,
Yeah. My sister, of course, Bashira.
That's no that's no, totally. It's one of those things I like want to keep a pocket list in my wallet of like, oh, like give a lit, shout out all the people you're like, okay, good, like perfect. Don't want to forget one. Yeah, mom, dad, sister, that you just go down. What are your favorite artists?
Grandma,
You look
auntie,
influential.
uncle, cousin.
No, exactly. And knowing you can never remember no, but yeah, just that intention of setting some appreciation for your peeps, I mean, damn it, I've always appreciated your craft, your talent, your mindset, your mystical blend of compassion with cold wisdom, warming compassion with cold wisdom. It's always been a pleasure to hear you speak about your journey, pontificate about music in general, and question where to go forward. Because yeah, we're connected in that said journey, and obviously taking slightly different routes, but resonating in many of the avenues. Obviously, part of the reason we've come to such a connection, and so I'm nothing but appreciative for that. Super stoked to hear more about your journey live in time and be able to again record this and share this for all and whoever have any interest in yourself or myself or the project to just get a better, deeper look into the world, which is you, because you are a song, your world. I wrote that down. Songs, your worlds, 100%. And so, once again, thank you for taking time out of undoubtedly a highly busy section of your life. I am personally very stoked because you will be coming down here, and so hopefully by the time that these release and that the songs of which you mentioned and the album of which this is promoting, it's all coming to fruition, we can enjoy that celebrating in some same physical proximity. But we'll just go here. And once again, Muneerah, thank you so much. Once again, we got the hashtag SUSOST interviews quadrant on the mic. Stand up, stand out, stand together. Muneerah, blessed travels and nothing but love to yourself.
Thank you. You too. Forevers.
Absolute.